Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. T for tuning in on my. So today, what do we talk about on the show today, Tony?
We went really hard on the effects of fore-aft fork flex on geometry.
Yeah, it's impressive. And this is something I don't think many people are talking about. So we talk about how fore-aft flex increases mechanical trill. And that's not exactly intuitive.
It surprised me when I figured it out.
Yeah, same. We also talk about, what else do we deep dive into today?
We talked about rider effort and e-bike range, and we asked the question, if you pedal harder, are you going to get more range?
Yeah, because, something that I hadn't really thought deeply about was the motor is always going to match 3X up to a certain point.
We think we sort of have the answer, and the answer might surprise you.
All right, let's get into it.
The Path Bike Shop.
The show was on.
I had the biggest smile on my face.
Taking it to a whole new level.
Pitch and bike shred signal.
If you have like a angry style.
Yeah, work hard, play hard.
We've had some good times.
It's September 17th, 2025. Welcome to the Path Podcast. My name is Tani. Stoked to be here with Auk.
I'm always stoked to be here with you.
Yeah, it's awesome. Man, we have been talking a lot. We've been podcasting while we ride and like on the phone.
While we drive, yep. Texting.
So we've kind of been really, really going over a couple things, but one of them has been inverted forks because we've both ridden the Push 9.1.
Yep.
And I've ridden the Podium, and we've seen some videos online of the fore-aft flex difference between the Podium and the regular 38, and we felt the difference.
In different ride situations and features.
We've talked about how we've talked on the show already about how much less fore-aft flex we are experiencing with the inverted forks.
Yep.
And we were on,
and there's all the talk about the torsional stiffness.
Yep. And we were on a ride the other day.
Yep.
And we were talking a little bit.
Yep.
And maybe you had already realized this, but I had what for me was a mind-blowing revelation that kind of like got my mind going for days to come and got us talking about a lot of different things. But the realization that I had was that when you experience fore-aft flex and the front axle moves backwards towards the bottom bracket,
right?
What's happening is not a steepening of the head angle.
Correct.
It is a change in offset of the fork.
That is true.
So that was a mind-blowing, just kind of like, oh yeah, that's true moment in the middle of the ride, like high heart rate, like, or moderately maybe. And that was a pretty big revelation for me.
Yeah, I think it was for both of us.
Because I think part of why it's a big revelation is because from a steering trail perspective, having the front wheel move back and having it change the offset has the opposite effect from steepening the head angle.
Correct.
In other words,
you lengthen the trail when you increase the trail when you reduce the offset.
Right.
Can you explain to me what trail is?
So if you draw a line straight down to the ground from your axle, and then you draw a line along the head angle of the bike, which is the angle created by the head tube.
Yep.
To the ground.
Yep.
How far in front the line that is the head tube is in front of the line that is the axle?
Correct.
That's trail.
Yep.
That's mechanical steering trail.
Right. So when you reduce offset, essentially your
axle moves backwards.
And the head angle stays the same. And so that distance grows farther.
Right. And so I had been having these moments where sometimes when the front wheel was loaded up on the inverted fork, you know how you're always cornering a little bit?
Right.
So I'm not talking about like a turn.
Right.
But I'm talking about, say, a correction to the right or a correction to the left, a slight move to the right or the left. So I was noticing these moments where when the front wheel was loaded up, like at the bottom of G-outs and then maybe front braking after that kind of vibes.
Right.
And I'm trying to also incorporate a little correction in somewhere in that phase.
Right.
I was finding myself experiencing kind of like oversteer, like the front wheel's further into the correction than I'm expecting it to be. And at first, I kind of told myself I must be wrong because, so this is with the inverted fork, right, where the fork isn't tucking as much, and that's creating an oversteer effect.
Right.
And I intuitively had been thinking of it as head angle, where if it were head angle, you would be reducing the steering trail when the wheel tucks.
Correct.
Which would, not having that happen would lead to understeer, not oversteer. If you're just unconsciously correcting for that event,
Correct.
right? And then it stops happening, but you're still unconsciously correcting for
Correct.
it. So that was kind of messing with my mind, and I was happy to be able to, I mean, who knows, there's still a lot of like, probably every time the understandings that we have are always
Evolving
and
Deepening,
based on the limits of our ability to understand. Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like I at least became able to come up with a feasible and rational explanation for what I thought I had been experiencing, which was nice for me.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that made a lot of sense. And then you pointed out that as you get that front wheel tuck, another thing that is happening is that the effective axle to crown is increasing, which slackens the head angle.
And I drew a picture of this one day because I had to like figure out in my own head. And my little note says steepen head angle. But when I thought about it, and I think you might have said this, it's like, no, we're increasing the axle to crown. And it's like, oh, we're slackening the head angle. So
which then doubles or then reinforces that effect of less offset on the mechanical steering trail even more.
Yeah, totally.
And further explains why sort of unconsciously mitigate, doing something unconsciously to make the bike work when you're getting that tuck. If you keep doing that and you stop getting the tuck, it would make sense
that you're
for both of those reasons that you'd be getting a little oversteer.
Right.
So I was like, oh, the world, tiny piece of the world makes sense to me again. And I'm not crazy that I was getting oversteer. Also, too, right? Like, was I just having a bad ride? No, I think that really was happening.
Well, and that's that subconscious or maybe like adjustment that we've been making.
It's almost like stop making an adjustment that you
Exactly.
didn't even know you were making.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do.
Exactly. And
But-
you've been making it for so long.
Right.
Right. And it kind of makes sense to some of the commentary that we've heard on this.
Yes.
You
With
know,
people
like-
feeling offline and certain loaded up front end
And
loaded up
that
moments.
exact situation that you talked about is one of the particular situations that they mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, that reduction of offset, increasing trail, and also slackening of the head angle. And so what's also happening is when it's snapping back.
Right. So every time, I'm convinced, and I think there's some videos online showing this, every time the fork tucks and then snaps back to static,
Right.
you lose traction.
Right. Yeah.
And once you lose traction, it's not just like zero traction versus one traction is not just, the difference is not one.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not saying that very clearly, but
right.
like once you lose traction, you've lost traction. That's not the same as having traction, and it takes more control to get traction back than to keep it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is it takes more it takes more skill, position, control, strength, time to get traction. Also ground conditions, whatever, tires, all the things that lead to traction. It takes more of that to get it back than it does to keep it.
Right. And it also, we mentioned, like, in my mind's eye, this also helps to explain why riding a fork with more flex, fore-aft flex, has a greater impact on your riding, is because you have this more radical changing of offset
Yeah.
and head angle, not just diving on the head angle, but you're standing it up. Yeah.
Right. Relative to what it would be
Correct.
if that weren't happening.
Correct.
relative to what you're experiencing on a fork that has more tuck.
Correct.
Or less tuck, I mean.
Correct.
So, yeah. And then that also, we tied this into, both the Push 9.1 and the Fox Podium. Both of them, when you turn the rebound all the way slow, it's not that slow.
Right.
And that was kind of another thing that was tripping me out. And I honestly do think that maybe what's going on here is the slowness of rebound that we were running in this industry might have been an attempt to get some control of that snapback.
Wow. Yeah.
And to just keep some control in that moment.
Right.
And have less loss of traction.
Because that's happening all the time.
Right. And maybe you don't need as slow of rebound if you're not getting that snapback moment.
Right.
Which would also be great because then the fork recovers more.
Right.
So you're
exactly.
like getting more travel back in the bank all the time.
Right.
More.
Right.
More travel back in the bank all the time.
More.
One more time again. So that was interesting. And then we got to talking about like, what if offsets start getting shorter because the average offset is kind of longer because it's not flexing back.
Yeah, totally. Right.
Or maybe because maybe there's some critical shortness of offset that we didn't even know that's what we were like kind of like the thing that we couldn't pass comfortably to get the offset shorter was whatever the offset turns out to be when the fork flexes back. And if it flexes back less, maybe we can just start with less offset, and maybe that would be good. And maybe then too, let's just say we go down to 35 offset. Right. And then we could all run 35 stems and have our stem length line up with our offset.
That could be. Yeah. Such a mind-blowing, to me, that's a mind-blowing to this could lead to change in what the offset of a fork is. I mean, when we went to 29ers, the offsets changed.
Yeah.
27.5, same thing.
Yep. And then when we went to 29, we went one direction and then the other as an industry.
Yeah.
When we went to 29, there was this discussion around offset that said this: when you raise the axle, there's more run out for the head angle to get in front of the axle, increasing the mechanical steering trail. So one way to increase mechanical steering trail is to slacken the head angle. Another way to increase mechanical steering trail is to decrease the offset.
Yep.
And one other way to increase mechanical steering trail is to increase the wheel size.
Right.
So when we increased from 26 to 29, pretty big jump. It increased the mechanical steering trail a lot. People weren't used to it.
Right.
And people wanted a bike that steered in a more familiar way.
Yeah.
And what the answer that a lot of our vendors came up with and fork manufacturers was, well, we'll increase the offset.
Increased offset.
Then there were these 51 mil offset forks.
That.
And you could tell that they steered quicker. Yeah. And it was kind of trippy because it was like, in my mind at that time, front wheel further out in front of you means steering slower. And here was this example of front wheel further out in front of you steering quicker. Yeah. And that's actually, during that time is where I got enough understanding of this topic to understand what's going on with the fork flex. Right. So pretty confidently, the industry started moving towards longer offsets for 29ers. And then Lars up at Transition put some short offset 26 crown steer stanchion assemblies on 29 fork assemblies, because he had this idea that maybe the right answer was actually shorter offset, and he liked it and Transition liked it, and then before long we were all on shorter offsets.
And now we're at 44.
And I think the answer is that I think part of the storyline back then was that the mechanical steering trail that we were all accustomed to was actually a little short.
Yeah, exactly.
And so as what I would say, there have been a lot of trends in the bike industry over the years, or in the last 15, in the mountain bikes, there's been trends in bike geometry and mountain bikes in the last 15 years. And a lot of them have led to more steering trail.
Right. And
bigger wheels, slacker head angles,
yeah,
less offset. These are all trends that have taken place, and it all is a bike that steers less from turning the handlebars and more from leaning it.
Right.
And that's also an evolution of how we ride.
Yeah. And so inverted forks might even take us further.
Maybe, well, and allow us to toe that line with more confidence, knowing that our fork isn't going to flex us over it.
Right.
Is kind of how I'm picturing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty exciting. And the other thing with the inverted forks is I kept having this, like, this reminds me of a Fox 40 or a Boxer, like a dual crown downhill fork.
Yeah.
And I think that what's going on there is that the 40 millimeter stanchions, the amount of bushing contact, all the things going on with a Fox 40 help with the 4-aft flex. And I also think that the dual crown tremendously helps with 4-aft flex.
Yeah, because when you run essentially you're running 3 posts either through the head tube, that's the steer tube, and then you're running the stanchions all the way up, and you're grabbing onto those above and below the head tube.
So on a single crown fork, you get some steer tube flex,
Right.
which changes geo and makes it feel weird. And then you also, and I think the steer tube flex is still offset. I think to the change is still, the actual change I think is still below the headset. You also get flex at the crown stanchion interface, which we talked about a little bit, how that's less on inverted forks, but it's way less on a dual crown because all that energy, you have to move the head tube to move the crown on a dual crown.
Right. Which
so
it's virtually not
I
going to happen.
do think that I don't think I'm tripping out when I say it reminds me of a downhill fork. I think the downhill fork achieves less 4-aft flex through the dual crown and through bigger diameter, in some cases, stanchions.
Right.
And maybe thicker tubes, maybe more bushing overlap. Like who knows all the different things they do to make that downhill fork have less 4-aft flex.
Do they on downhill forks, do they have different offset?
It's a really good question. I don't remember the answer off the top of my head, but I think it's on the short side. Like I don't think it's old school long offset.
Right.
In fact, let's see what we can find out. So yeah, I am super psyched on upside down forks. And then the other thing is with you having ridden the 9-1 and then Jeff and then Zach and Eric, like we've gotten a lot of different reactions.
Right.
I would say of 1, 2, 3, 5 riders that have tried it, there was one rider that had some like, okay, like they liked things about it, but didn't like things about it. And there were 4 riders that were like, this thing is awesome.
Yeah. And you are the only one who has ridden both.
That's who I've also
podium.
ridden the podium for.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you've been riding that thing. You've been hogging that thing.
You're next. You're next. Yeah, because I don't want to put a right side up fork back on my bike. But no, you're next. And actually, I do kind of want to put a right side up fork back on my bike because I do want to experience that ABA thing.
Right.
But yeah.
But I don't know. So the podium, yeah, that's such an interesting one. Like the difference in ride quality. Maybe you need to do like ABC.
Well, before the show,
ABAC, like.
Before the show, you had asked me if I would buy the Push 9-1 or the Fox Podium.
Yeah.
And I don't have a quick answer, but I'm leaning towards the Push.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
It's plusher. Mm-hmm. It's plusher, and like, it's a lot plusher. It's really plush.
Right.
That's
what I felt.
One more reason why is because you can get a fender for it.
Ooh.
It has a fender option
right.
From Push. And the Fox Podium doesn't have a fender option. And another reason why is because it uses the same front hub standard as all my other bikes.
Yeah.
Now, there's two. That front hub standard thing goes into a category with the sound that it makes. That's both the reason why I want the Fox and the reason why I want the Push.
Right.
So I like that the Push has a standard front hubs, a front hub with a normal standard of 15 mil boost. I also kind of like the idea of a 20 mil front hub to just make everything even more stiff and solid up front.
Yep.
So
suspect that's
so
why they did
that goes into the column of like I'm not sure which fork that decision the hub thing supports for me.
Right.
And then the Push makes this noise. It almost sounds like laser beams or something when it moves.
Yeah, it does.
And what I mentioned to Zach when he was riding it for the first time and he was commenting on the sound, I was like, think of it as a feature and you'll start liking it, which is because that's what happened to me.
Yeah. Think of it as a feature, not a flaw.
But the Fox fork is quieter.
It is quiet.
But it is kind of cool to, it's like, it's not when you, so, you know, like those of us who have had a blown Float X are maybe, and just in general, if you know about suspension, you've been riding a lot, you know the sound of a blown damper.
Right.
And it's kind of squelchy. And this isn't the same sound.
No, it's not.
But it's close enough that if you don't have a strong point of reference, you might be like, wait, does that mean my damper's blown?
Right.
Like I remember last time I heard a sound, my damper was blown.
Right. This is not that sound.
It doesn't sound like a blown damper. But if your Fox fork makes a sound that's at all anything like that, you probably do have a blown damper.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's true.
So I think a lot of that is just how you perceive the sound, but also some people really like having a quiet bike. Then other people really like a bike that makes cool sounds. Like we have people who buy, say, the i9 hubs or the King hubs because they like that
sound. Yep.
So like, you know, the
I think I
sound
fall
thing
into
for me also is kind of almost a plus to both.
Yeah.
Like kind of like the hub standard thing. That's almost like, it's kind of like a plus to both in a different way.
I hear you. I think I kind of fall into the cool sound like category.
As far as pure plus for the Fox podium, it's more familiar.
Yeah.
The damping characteristics and the spring characteristics are more familiar to someone who's used to a Fox 38. So it takes less getting used to, and it for some people might feel more natural.
Right.
Also for the Fox, I do like the ability to tune the air spring in finer increments than you can with a coil spring.
Right.
And also to tune it for different conditions and both different riding conditions,
right?
But also different rider conditions. Like how much do I weigh that day?
It makes it a little bit easier to.
What is the condition of my waist size? Because honestly, I fluctuate 10, 15 pounds, and that pushes me in and out of which spring I would run.
Because you're kind of on you're not that plus or minus is not smack dab in the middle of a spring range.
Right.
You know, I like it when you're minus because it puts us closer to the same.
Right. Yeah. When my setup gets closer to yours, that's good. And it also is usually healthy for me.
Yeah, we had just talked about, the ratio of waist to height.
Did we talk about that on the show?
We didn't talk about it on the show.
Yeah, I had told Auk off the show that I heard on Huberman Labs that it's a good idea to try to keep your waist less than half your height.
Man,
which for me means I need to be, to meet that criteria, I would be somewhere a little under 34 inches on the waist.
Yeah.
So.
And
I'm not quite there.
Waist is not hips.
Yeah.
For
I
guys,
think this
it's
is
not where you wear your pants.
halfway between the bottom of your ribs and the top of your belly button, and not sucking in, but all the way exhaling.
Right.
That's how you measure, in case you're wondering.
I'm going to try it.
I know how to measure stuff. That's a big thing in the bike world is how you measure.
Yeah, that's
like how do you
true.
measure a hub flange? How do you measure a center to flange on a hub?
Right.
How do you measure a rim diameter?
Right. Yeah. So, so I took a picture of us riding. I think it was it was a selfie, and it was kind of a wide angle, and you just happened to be sitting at the very edge of the picture.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh, that's not flattering.
Oh, I'm coming in all belly first.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. That's just a shirt blowing around.
Yeah. It makes me think of a more crass saying. So let's get a little shop news out of the way, and then we'll nerd out some more.
Okay.
This is like yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We wore matching hats just for today.
So we still have shop rides every Thursday after work.
Yep.
Till daylight savings time. I think we're approaching the last. After daylight savings time, Women's Wednesday and the Thursday ride will be on pause, I guess. And we'll probably try to have some other rides.
So we've got about, by the time this show airs, about a month and a week or so. Yeah.
Yep. We have our social pace ride September 27th. You can check that out on our website. And that's kind of like a beginner ride, but you don't have to be a beginner. It's just that, like, don't be impatient with a beginner pace.
Right.
And e-bikes are welcome on that one. And we have a pivot demo day coming up, I think, in November that we'll have on the calendar probably by the next podcast. So watch for that announcement.
I kind of want to try a Trailcat.
I do too.
You don't have
Trailcat SL or Trailcat LT?
I think LT.
Yeah, I kind of want to try the SL. I have this fantasy of a 120, 130 bike that weighs about 28 pounds.
Yep.
And the SL does not weigh 28 pounds, but it's lighter than most of the other 120, 130 bikes. So it's closer to the fantasy than most.
Right.
Yep. It's kind of like like how I would picture the original Tallboy if it evolved in my vision for it.
Yeah.
So that was like a sub 6 pound frame.
Yeah.
And now it's a 120 travel frame, but it's no longer sub 6 pounds.
Yeah.
We've talked about a little bit on the show how I hope that Santa Cruz comes out with a horse like rock arm Tallboy, like how they did the Vala, because I think that would help them get it down to around to that weight.
Yeah. That would be exciting.
Yeah.
But the thing about that 120, 130 in the pivot, like maybe the whole suspension design goals of a pivot in that 120, 130 might actually be exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, and I think I know what you're saying, which is I think pivot tends to tune their suspension with a fair amount of ground feel and a fair amount of anti-squat.
Yeah.
And to generally be able to be tuned to ride high in the travel and so I agree with that general assessment. And I also would say yes, and on their more kind of trail XC bikes, they really emphasize that. And I think they've de-emphasized it a little on bikes like the Firebird.
Right.
But yeah, I would expect that bike to feel very plush, especially over square edge chatter and everything. Yep. But I would expect it to be extremely well behaved, kind of a little bit of ground feel and poppy and super efficient and under hard accelerations and hard pedaling.
I've been pedaling more.
Nice.
That is something that's been on my mind.
What length cranks?
150 and 155.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a little more shop news.
Yep.
We're going to be selling a lot of our demo bikes in the next coming weeks. So keep an eye out as of right now, all the Bullets and Valas are coming with a new Pirion screen.
Okay.
That you can replace the LED controller with.
Yeah.
And so everyone who has a Bullet and Vala, this is compatible, but now they're going to come with it.
Yeah.
So we're replacing our demo bikes are almost a year old for demos and for Valas and Bullets. So for Valas for sure. So we're going to sell those as soon as we get the new ones with the screens. Also, those screens are coming in this week.
Exciting.
I don't know how long. I don't know if they'll still be in stock when the podcast airs. But because we got like 15, I could see those going fast.
Yeah.
And our source is already sold out.
Oof.
Let's see.
Speaking of retrofits, so I ordered a Skitch.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, right? That's the Santa Cruz gravel grinder.
Fazua mid-drive 60.
Yep. and has the 430 watt hour battery. And unfortunately, Fazua came out and said no range extender.
Yep. I
Which
saw
is,
that.
That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But for a limited time, they're offering a special offer on upgrading the 430 watt hour battery to the next gen 480 watt hour battery.
Are you going to do it?
I am.
Nice. How much was it?
I think it's for a limited time. I think it's 480, something like that.
Did they give you any advice about how to get it in there?
Take it to your local bike shop.
Yeah.
So thanks to Jesse for the tip on that. So if anyone's looking at that Fazua 430 watt hour battery, they have both the replaceable and the non-replaceable versions of it. The 480 watt hour, it's essentially no weight increase. So you have 50 watt hour extra, a little bit more than 10% extension on the range, and no weight penalty.
And same package size.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited.
So you can put those in your Heckler SL, your Shuttle SL, your
Transition.
Relay.
Your Relay, yep.
They do a latch version like the Relay uses, I imagine.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool. If you had a Relay, that would be especially compelling because the Relay's a good two battery bike because it's easy to change the battery.
Yeah. Man, and there were like
maybe I should get one for my Relay.
Yeah. There were some big rides that we did, and if you ride in Eco, which is a little bit beefier on the Relay because there's only 3 modes, it's actually, you get some killer range on it.
Nice.
Yeah. I wonder what the multiplier is on that when you're riding a Relay in Eco.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how you have it set.
Tuned, right.
And they do come tuned differently from different brands sometimes.
Yep.
So there's no one answer that's easy, but I do wonder what like the most common tunes are.
Yeah.
In that setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on
shop
ahead. News?
Yeah, one more piece of shop news.
Okay, 2 more maybe. Go for it.
We had a bike sale last weekend.
Okay.
And it was kind of a somewhat late decision, and we record the show a week in advance.
Yep.
And we also skipped a week.
Yep.
So long story short, I wasn't able to tell our audience about the bike sale,
right.
which is over.
You
missed it.
Missed it.
But for our podcast listeners, message the shop. Tell us you're a podcast listener and you want a chance to get the prices from the bike sale. Tell us which bike you're checking out. Generally speaking, pretty much most of the bikes we have in stock were 10% off.
Nice.
And that includes sale bikes. So 10% off of bikes that are already, in many cases, like 30% off.
That's fantastic.
So, special opportunity for our podcast listeners to get in on the deal that I didn't get a chance to tell you about.
Awesome.
Till the end of September. Maybe even first week of October. The main thing is that we still have that it was in stock for the sale and still in stock.
Right. Exactly.
So it can't be the next hot thing that I'm going to get next week. Well, we're going to have some Rayons this week. So
nice.
And there's a couple other hot models that may not be eligible, but yeah, let us know. You can message us from the website. Just click the message thing.
Fantastic.
A lot of times it'll be me that, especially if you mention the podcast, it might very well be me that answers, or but if not, I'll make sure the crew knows that we're just extending the deal to our podcast listeners for a little longer.
Great.
So that's exciting.
I'm going to walk back here away from my mic.
Oh yeah, the limited edition 38.
Yep, I wanted to pull out this limited edition 38, and the metallic flake paint on this is really nice. So they did a root beer color one a couple years back, and then I forget what the other version was, but this looks really nice.
They did a gold one.
Oh, that's right, the gold.
But
one.
yeah, that's kind of like It's a little lighter than what I'd picture British racing green, and it has it's probably not showing up on the video, but a really vibrant kind of gold flake sparkle.
Yep. So this particular one, I believe, is
it's a 38-170, I believe.
38-170. So
and we got 3. There still might be 1 or 2 left when the show airs in a week.
3 of 1,000.
3 of 1,000, 0.03%.
I wonder if those things are numbered. Maybe. Anyways,
so
I just wanted to show that
we had another pretty awesome conversation recently, awesome for me, conversation recently.
It was awesome for me too.
So for me, this is how this came about. I had a customer in the store that asked me what, on the face of it, seems like a pretty simple question, which is, if I'm riding my e-bike and I pedal harder, will I get more range?
Yep.
And my answer to the customer was, depending on the situation, probably. But there are times when pedaling harder just makes the battery put out more power.
Yep. It just matches.
There's certain situations where if you pedal, especially, and then, so that's where I left it with the customer. It was a question that I had almost assumed to be so obvious that it didn't need to be discussed, or I just never even thought it through.
Right.
And then I brought it up with you, and you blew my mind a little bit by basically saying, no, you're going to go faster, but if you keep it in the same gear, the range is probably going to be the same regardless of how hard you pedal.
That's what I kind of think.
And then you helped me understand why you were saying that. And I don't, for our audience, do you mind if I recap?
Yeah, of course.
So, or maybe you should.
No, you're better at recapping. Go for it.
The motor's always going to put out 3 times. I mean, in theory.
Yeah.
Or let's even take a step back from saying what the motor's going to do and just say, if the motor always puts out 3 times your effort,
yep,
which is kind of what it might be doing.
Right.
Then you will always, no matter how much effort you put in, you will always supply 1/3 of the total power, and always,
yep,
or right, 1/4, right? And you will, that's correct, because 3 parts plus your part is 4. And then you'd go faster, but you would have the same range.
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes sense. And we talked about a lot of other variables
right,
that may affect if and when it really is 3 times the power.
Right.
And we talked about maybe ways in which you could put in more effort and instead of going faster, go further, which the main one is just to turn down the power probably.
Right, exactly.
Because then if you turn down the power, you would go further if you're putting out more effort, right?
Totally.
Because you break this formula of you're always 1/3.
Yep.
And we talked about some of the possible exceptions, including some riders probably have enough power to put out more than 1/3 of 750 watts.
Yep, exactly.
For a significant amount of time. Probably not me. I don't know what my wattage is.
I'm not even sure if I could. But we used Nino. I kept using the Nino Schurter.
What is his sustained wattage?
I don't know, but it's.
I think it's well over 250.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think good fit mountain bikers can maybe do 250 if they're like on the fit end.
Yep.
For a sustained amount of time.
Yep.
And if they're on the strong, because it's part of this is not just like, because if you weigh 135 pounds in your fit, that's different wattage than if a 200-pound person is keeping up with that person.
Right, exactly.
So also anyway, some bigger, stronger fit riders could probably sustain that kind of wattage. Oh gosh. What are you reading?
Nino Schurter shared a little bit ago that he had a normalized power of 368 watts for an hour and 25 minutes.
So if Nino Schurter pedals harder on his e-bike, he will go further.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I guess that's one way that you can break Auk's idea.
Yeah.
Is to just put out more than 1/3 of the total watts your bike puts out at peak power. Exactly. Another one is, we talked about all of the data points that go into how much power is put out by the battery. And it's not necessarily, at least based on my understanding, the data points are torque,
Yep.
cadence,
Yep.
inclination,
Yep.
and torque, cadence, inclination. Am I missing one?
Cadence, inclination,
Speed.
speed. Yep.
So it's not necessarily like doing one specific thing based on a reading from those, but it's all going into the algorithm
Right.
of how much power is getting
Right.
put out. Torque, cadence, rhythm, and speed. So depending on all those things, you may not always be getting the 300. So that could be another reason why pedal. And then I kind of came up with the thing of, I sort of think cadence is a pretty big factor in how much power is being put
I
out.
think I could agree with that. Yeah.
And while increasing cadence does help increase power,
Yeah.
if you pedal real light, in other words, stay in a very low gear and
Yeah.
pedal real light, I think that's one way, and kind of keep the cadence sort of high.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one way to maybe make sure that you're not exceeding 1/3. Like, it's for sure going to put out 3 times your
Right,
power
right,
if you
right.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, maybe if you pedal really hard at maybe a lower cadence, you may not always be having as much output.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might
Yeah,
go
yeah.
the other way a little bit. So yeah, I found it to be a wonderful little nerd out.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great conversation, and it helped me this morning
Yes.
because I remember when I came home last time I rode my e-bike, I pedaled home, and it was for whatever reason the charging. I normally charge it so that my pattern is when I get home, I need to charge it because it's closer to 0.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it was backwards. I was off one cycle.
So you're
And
charging at work.
yeah, I should have charged it. I did charge at work, and that's what threw it off. And so I got home, and I had like 30% left, maybe 26% left. That's what it was. 26% left, and I'm like, I think I could get back to work if I had to, if I just pedaled easy,
Yeah.
And sure enough, I came out this morning, and I wanted to get to work early. I was like, e-bike. And I'm like, shoot, I got to pedal easy because I don't know if I'm going to. And our conversation kept playing through my head. What do I do?
Oh, right. How do you maximize efficiency and still like go pretty fast?
Exactly. So, yeah, I put it in eco, and I think I was trying to pedal as easy as possible in a lower cadence.
Okay.
And
You made it?
no,
Oh,
because I made it pretty far. I think I only had to pedal a dead e-bike for about a mile. Yeah, it was about a mile.
pretty flat.
Pretty flat. Yeah,
That's cool.
It was no problem. And but yeah, for whatever reason, the percentage on displays, you just got to be careful because I think different batteries behave differently. Mine, when it gets to 16%, the drop from 16 all the way down is pretty quick.
I feel like that's a really common thing where the there's like an acceleration of drainage as you get
Yes.
into the lower percentages.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Yes.
But I think it's real.
Yeah, totally. So yeah. So yeah, that was my existential crisis, and I ended up pedaling. I was pleasantly surprised that I could pedal my dead e-bike at about like 15 or 16 miles an hour.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, right?
Like,
It's like
if you were an out of shape roadie, that would be respectable for a regular road bike.
I did know I only had to go a mile, but yeah, it was good.
I mean, that's not like a fast road pace, but it's like not that far off.
Yeah. I had to. I did remember that this was the case, so I wasn't too worried.
Right.
I've done this once or twice before to myself, and
You didn't have to pedal hard up to that point, and you knew you weren't going to have to pedal that hard for too long.
exactly. So yeah, that was really interesting. Range, cadence, incline, I didn't realize that e-bikes had the inclinometer in them.
I don't know that they all do, but I'm fairly certain the Gen 5 Bosch does.
Yeah, which is
Thing's got all kinds of features. It has anti-theft technology,
exactly.
tracking
Yep.
that you can turn on. And
Yep. And make sure you update that firmware, 100 Newton meters. I can honestly say I am 100% adjusted to 100 Newton meters.
And you know what? It's not hurting my range as much as I thought it was going to.
Yeah, right? Because
I still think I can get 4 runs
I think so. We
on
could
full
get
power.
about 4,000 feet.
because we're just going faster. We're not doing more work. Still the same amount of work. I think that's part of the equation.
It's putting out 100 Newton meters. Yeah.
I mean, lifting our bodies up 900 feet of elevation across
4
a certain amount of
times.
miles is just a certain amount of work.
Right.
And
It's taking less time.
I think this led to another question that we asked a little bit of ourselves, and I still don't know the answer, which is, other than increased drag from going faster and a little bit of loss of traction from harder accelerations, and also other than loss of some energy to braking, is going faster less efficient use of energy? And I don't think it is. I think it's those 3 things can make it less efficient use of energy.
Right. But if we are not over that
10 miles an hour.
1/3 max, 1/3 of the max output.
Right. And if we're not going fast enough to get any real wind drag, and if we're still doing good traction management, and if we're not having to brake into turns, then going faster might be the same amount of work, and therefore you just do it faster. Am I tripping? All right, next thing. All right. Can we go back to 4 aft flex again for a minute?
Let's.
Because there's 2 more whole nerd out aspects of it that I forgot to bring up.
Okay, let's go back.
Okay. Another thing that happens when your 4 aft flex happens is that your front center rear center ratio changes.
Oh, yes.
So what do we've talked about that a fair amount on the show lately.
Right.
So what's that going to do? It's going to shift weight onto the front wheel and off of the rear wheel. So in that moment
of flexing,
your rear wheel might unweight a little bit.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah, for sure. For that moment of.
Which is, you might get, if you're in a turn, you might get your rear wheel kick out to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I'm not making this up. This is your front center, rear center ratio changes. We know what having it change in that direction does. We know that if more weight goes on one wheel, it comes off another wheel.
Yep. So all of this is happening. Yeah.
This is real. Berenstain Bears. Yeah. So there's that. And then also, hold on, let me look at my notes.
What? So,
Oh, I remember what it was that I wanted to say. Sorry. The other thing is, we talked about how more trail leads to less twitchy steering from turning the bars. Yeah. But what we didn't talk about is more trail leads to a self-correcting effect.
Right.
Which I think you can read that as standing the bike up.
Now, is it standing the bike up when you are getting more trail, or is it standing it up when you're getting less trail and it's snapping back?
Having more trail makes a two-wheeled vehicle want to stand up straight. Yeah. Makes it self-correct. Mm-hmm. So when it starts to turn to one side, it self-corrects back up straight. Yeah. Like a bike riding with no.
Yeah.
So right. more trail is going to make that bike riding with no rider more likely to pop back up straight over and over again as it starts to fall to one side or the other.
Right.
So when you get to the bottom of a chute and your front wheel loads up and maybe you want to be starting to lean the bike over at that moment to initiate a turn and it feels like the bike stands up. Do you think that's from that?
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The tuck and the I mean, I think there's other things going on that making it feel
The
like
increase of axle to crown,
Yeah.
the unweighting of the rear wheel, the
Right.
weighting of the front wheel.
and even like the difficulty it is to go from this to this. You know, like
Creating a lean angle, you have to overcome some forces of inertia and gyroscopic
wants
forces.
to put you straight forward. That's going to stand, like have the feeling of pulling that bike straight up.
Mm-hmm.
What you were talking about, though, is exacerbating that. Like all of these things are exacerbating that.
It's crazy.
And so it's unlearning.
But also, like, I kind of think that on a, say, let's not even get into like a longer travel Fox 34 or something.
Right.
But like, I think on a Fox 38 170, I'm kind of the, like, if I had to guess, I would say the front wheel movement of the axle might be 3 inches,
Wow.
2 inches,
yeah.
50 millimeters.
Right.
That's an insane
amount of movement.
Like, we get really excited about 10 millimeter or 5 millimeters of offset.
yeah.
So to have a 50, if I'm right, to have a 50 millimeter offset change, this is like off the charts.
Right. Which is why they don't run 38s on downhill courses. They're running 40s because of that. Not because of, but for many other reasons. But that's perhaps part of it.
Yeah.
Because the pros putting the hurt on the single crowns.
Yeah. Yep. And the faster you are going and the harder you're pushing the bike, probably the more all this matters to a point, because I'll counter that with the whole, like, that slow speed rider who like almost comes to a track stand and all the way loads up the front wheel.
Right, exactly.
And maybe is a little heavier.
Right.
Like, they are really going to get some tuck. Like,
yeah. Oh man. Yeah. On a steep shoot, as that person is,
yeah.
even the 38s, I think, are screaming under that situation.
Yep. I think there's something a little bit more serious I want to talk about for just a second. It
All
just
right.
occurred to me. I know that you care about this too. We had someone who is part of our community move on from this world, and he was an awesome guy. Like, they just more so than most. Like, really, like,
He's the type of guy, like, I've ridden with him, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and I saw him, I think it was at the anniversary event or whatever.
yeah.
Here. And it was like, he's so welcoming and
Yep.
so like warm,
Kind, warm. Yep. And inspirational too, because he did so many rad trips and he shared them.
Yeah.
He would share them, share photographs and share the stories.
Yeah.
And he would tell you where the trails are.
Yeah.
And he would find the coolest trails
Exactly.
and just like no ego about it, just stoked to share the stoke.
Yeah.
Super, and just a stoked guy. So like the
Yeah.
world is a little less stoked today.
Yeah.
And rest in peace, Tom.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good way to end the show.
I think that's a good way to end the show.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Let's all remember to love the bike we ride.